I have been asked several times to do a pre-flight video for the Helicycle. So this Saturday, since I'm headed to Chicago, I thought I'd just get the camera out here. I'm actually doing the pre-flight right now on Thursday. The weather's bad today, so I won't be flying. I've got it all topped out with fuel, checked everything, but I'll just go through what I would do when I come up to it to take off. We approach it, kind of look it over here, look for say if this is outside, do I have a rope on the tail? Time the rotor down, and I got my transport wheels on, as you can see, those would come off. Stuff like that, obvious. But I'll walk up to it here and I'll open the door, which I just put on for this cold weather flying. And I just look here in the cockpit, take the collective here, and I go full range with it. There's the collective friction. I then go up and look at the full range on the swash plate. Then, when I'm satisfied that it's got full range, I go to the cyclic and move it all the way around, all 360 degrees. That rubber boot there, by the way, kind of just keeps it naturally centered. I love that thing. It's a gear shift boot. It works perfect. It just kind of keeps the stick neutralized. But what I'm looking for here is the gap there in the swash plate bearing at 3, 6, 9, and 12 points there, just so it does not contact the mast at full deflection. I can tell, let's say my controls are getting jammed up and it only moves so much, I can tell real quick by experience, hey, something's wrong here. So I can see I've got full range of controls here. So, back in the cabin, I have a switch here that I've thrown that runs my backup battery, and it, all of a sudden my voltage indication shows it's ready to go. That backs up my main fuel solenoid, my governor, and also the exciter, so that when I push here's the starter button and the start fuel, I was having a little trouble intermittently having a couple stabs at it once in a while. So I discovered that when I ran the starter here, the voltage dropped down to like 5.2 volts. So now I've got a full 12 volts no matter when the starter's on or off. So that fixed that little problem. The rest of it, I just look in here and check the pedals, full deflection, and just look over the switches, just see if everything's intact. Just look it over. That's the inside is, of course, the fuel level. I have a floating red cylinder in my fuel line that I just love this system. I can just quick glance, and now the peripheral vision of my eye can see the fuel level clear down to my warning red stripes start at 5 gallons. I can go clear down to at the bottom of the red. There will be about 1.2 gallons left. I would not fly it that low, but I could fly it that low. If I was really, like if I had a half mile to go and I was over some stupid thing like a bunch of trees or something, yeah, I would be confident that as long as I can see fuel in that line, this thing is going to run. So I come back out, shut the door. Now we can go to the controls here, and you check for, check the rod ends. I'm pulling up and down, sideways. I'm going all directions here, just up and down. This 4F, left, right, on all of them, and I'm wiggling everything. You just shake, rattle, and roll. And I'm checking for looseness. I've got torque seal on all my critical bolts. I'm looking that over. I'll get up here, check out the rotor head, and just look it over real well. I look at the delver plates here. You can kind of, those are all, there's 16 of them on this helicopter. You can kind of wrap on them with a coin or your knuckle, and you can tell. And I look down the blade, and Just look for dents, rivets coming out. Another thing you can check is you can excite these blades. I'm going to put a real quick vibration in it, and it's hard to tell in the video. Let me try again here. There's a very equal vibration from both front and rear blade there, and they should be in time to each other. That's showing that there's nothing going on funny with one blade. And then you also excite them real fast, and there's a quiver to it, and you can just tell, if things are okay. Back here, okay, here's the starter, or this little motor here. It's a little tiny motor that engages the rotor. This drives a worm screw. I always keep fresh grease on it. Here's the 6 belts that drive this thing. I always get a hold of this idler pulley and rock it, check it. Every flight, I reach in here and feel the bearings. I reach underneath here and feel that bearing there. And then I check all the little magnets I've got in here. I've had them come loose a couple times. I think I've got them fixed with JB weld. I even put some little foam between them, so that if one magnet does lose its bond, it won't jump over to the next magnet. It'll just happily stay there centrifugally, and I'll catch it on the post flight. And you just look for leaks, loose bolts, anything. You just kind of shake, rattle, and roll, like I was saying. And just look over the turbine, all the fuel lines, fuel control arm. While we're on that fuel control arm, I'm going to go back into the cabin here. I have some micro switches on my fuel control arm that light a light in the panel. The first light on the left up there, that amber light, is when I'm at about 90% throttle, and the other one is when it's at full 100%. That's just to tell Stan that, hey, no use pulling any more collective. The turbine's delivered all it can. Those are my idiot lights. They were named after myself. Right here's the fuel control arm hitting this is the front switch. Right there. That comes on just a little bit before the rear switch. I love that system. It's just a little tool. It's very hard to make them come on. It takes a very high density altitude day, hovering out of ground effect, to get them to come on. And you check the batteries. I've got torque seal on all the connections. I just shake, rattle, and roll again. You just check over. You just follow your eye down the ship, and then I'll turn the tail rotor drive shaft over and over. I've got torque seal on all the bolts. I look for cracks, anything happening here. I go down the line here. This is something else on post flight. I always physically put my hand immediately on all these bearings, check the sprag clutch here for looseness, check for temperature. I check all these bearings, and then I feel the gearboxes. So while we're back here at the gearbox, there's an oil level indicator right there, check. And I look for seepage to try to keep things clean back here. I always put a drop of Marvel Mystery Oil every flight back here to keep that lubed. You check all these rod ends, and you again shake, rattle, and roll. I'm pushing this way, that way, this way, every way, X, Y, Z. You take, and you can feel there's supposed to be just a few thousandths of play going up and down here, and I can just feel it. So if I ever start feeling a clicking noise like it's got 10 thousandths of play, I'd be able to tell it and know something's going on. Check the safety wires, check for rivets down the blades coming loose. Check the horizontal stabilizer here. I'm physically wiggling it, looking for cracks. Just good and strong integrity. I even look at the incidence angle here This thing is angled off to the right a little bit, as you can see, and this here's got a certain angle to it. So just stuff that I know by eye, something's going on. Come down this side of the ship. Now here's the little beast here. You reach in here, and the camera won't show it. Now there's a trick for my fat arm to do this without getting any soot on it. I'm reaching in here and feeling the turbine on the end. I'm taking a hold of the shaft and I'm turning it 90 degrees and wiggling it, trying to feel anything, any movement at all. Baby's grounded. Pull my arm out. Oh, got a little bit of soot on my knuckle. I'll get better at this. And you look around for leaks. This is the exciter that runs the spark that starts the infernal in this burner can here. Then I turn all these 6 nozzles on and pump the fuel and feed that infernal until it gets up to about 48,000. Then I throw the governor on and she's happy. Check the air inlet screen. I've got this is kind of my own improvised oil reservoir tank. I made my own little dip gauge on it. It's got the little fine notches. The thing is staying right there. I checked that post-flight also to see if the surge or the scavenge pumps are working right. Right after shutdown, there's 2 pumps here. These 2 lines come individually in. This is a later modification I did to mine. These lines were threaded into fiberglass only, and they always seeped and they wiggled a little bit. It was always just kind of damp. So one day I got tired of it, pulled them off, made aluminum plate, JB welded it, riveted it on, end of leak, and it's really secure. I did the same thing on the bottom here, did that. I even put a little standpipe in there because I got to thinking if I ever had a little piece of debris fly in there, there was like a little 3/16 hole, it could cut down my, this is the lifeblood to the turbine, this oil line, very important. And I checked the integrity of the frame. I've got these tension cables here that I believe kept my gear from collapsing. While there's no belief to it, it did keep my gear from collapsing. At one time I had that flame out on last Veterans Day, and I did a 40-mile-an-hour run on landing with it. They held, and very tickled with those. Again, there's more to this. I'm looking at, in here on the clutch, I'm looking for any loose bolts. The clutch is checked for tension every 10 hours or so. I checked for fuel flow test on this thing. I've got a gascolator under here that I check the fuel. I check all these controls here. I move them around, like again, shake, rattle, and roll everything. If I see a drop of fuel on the floor, I go why, and I had a couple lines one time seeping a little bit, and I fixed them immediately. Little things like that. Otherwise, it's just been a very easy ship to maintain. I've had it over a year now, and I've spent less time working on this thing than anything I've ever flown. I spent a lot of time looking it over, trying to find something to work on, but it's been just a pleasure to fly, and I just knocking on wood, I think it's going to give me a lot of service. Maybe I'll get a better view here of exciting this blade from this angle. There now you can see the fore and aft blade flapping in resonance with each other. You don't want to see one flapping out of phase. That shows, like I said, there's some tension problems going on. Something's changing in the structure of the blade, and it should be checked into. Again, I look down the skin. I polish my blades, as you can see. I love that purple polish that I use on them. It just shows up, if there's any flaw in the blade, I can see it. And these blades are just as smooth as anything I've ever flown. They'll stay that way until the bugs get on them. If I keep them clean, it's easy to keep clean. There's no excuse not to have blades looking like that after you've cleaned them. It's real easy and fun to keep up at it. Well, that's a brief overview. There's more stuff I do, but I'm only limited how much I can upload here. So anyway, that's kind of just a brief walk around of what a pre-flight on the Helicycle is like. Thanks for watching.